Another week has passed in the football world. Wait, no, that's not right. It's been 4 days. But it does feel like an eternity has passed because we've gone so long without football. And we didn't quite get a very good game last night. So hopefully there's better football ahead this week in the week 3. This is the week 3 preview by Senior Roundtable Football Podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Charlie.
And I'm Zach.
And today we're going to get right into it. I hope nobody gets hurt along the way because injuries seem to be running rampant in the NFL world right now. What are we thinking about Trayvon Diggs, Nick Chubb, Aaron Rodgers fresh off his IR trip just last week? Injury bug is going around. What do we think?
First off, I don't want to say I told them so, but I told y'all so. I feel so bad for the Colts fans, but you could see the writing on the wall. It's like giving a kid a pan of paint, white walls, and telling them don't touch it. What do you think the kid's gonna do? Touch the paint and touch the walls? Come on, man. Bryce Young too. I didn't want to admit it. Bryce Young's on that injury report with the ankle injuries, out for 2 to 3 weeks. Like, what do you do? Shut them down for the season. First off, you're not giving them the full offense. When you watch them, they make spectacular plays out of nothing because they are good quarterbacks. I mean, at least in AR's point, like he's making plays with his legs. I haven't seen a crazy play with his arm yet, and that's what he is, a quarterback. So now they're going to label him as a runner, and that's why he got hurt. When in retrospect, his team's banged up and he has no help. Who's his number one receiver? Who could really produce for it? If you look at the all 11, all 22, there's no one that could produce yards of separation. There's no help. Bryce's aspect, it's a 10-year vet as his number one receiver, which you think would help. But when DJ Chark is coming off an injury, when all the rest of the receivers are hurt, and Jonathan Mingo is more so looking like a Calvin Benjamin.
I also wanted to point out Brady Christensen being out for the year already. A stellar guard for the Panthers. So that offensive line is starting to look a little more patchwork around Taylor Moton.
Yeah, so when you have patchwork O-lines, patchwork wide receivers, a running back crew that isn't the best, don't play your quarterback. Sit him. Let him watch. Bro, NBA players don't care about that at all. NBA players will sit for 2 years straight if they have to. Sit them. Shut them down for this. There's no rush to get them in. If you want to have them for the next 10 years like you project to, what's to sitting them one? That's just my perspective.
Well, I have some thoughts about the Nick Chubb injury. It's just a really devastating injury, especially to that Browns offense. That offense relied around Nick Chubb. Deshaun Watson can't do it by himself. The offensive line is still looking kind of mediocre, especially in the pass blocking. Amari Cooper's been looking pretty well, trying to carry this passing offense as most as he can. But it all has to go down with Deshaun Watson right now. He needs to step up. He needs to play like he was in Houston. Back to the Chubb injury, you got Jerome Ford who went in there, looked pretty well. He had a really good, really big run to almost to the house. You bring in Kareem Hunt. You brought him back. He'll be more of the third down guy catching passes out of the backfield. But this team will not make the playoffs with Chubb being out for the year.
Yeah, I luckily haven't come across that injury. From all the news that I've been seeing, it's been of that Joe Theismann, Alex Smith variety, where they're talking about even something as severe as amputation for the leg. Zach, I was wondering if there were any highlights that you saw from the Week 3 injury bug.
Well, yeah, I was going to comment on Nick Chubb. Not only does that affect the Browns, I think that affects the running back market as a whole, because it just proves a lot of GMs and a lot of owners right in a sense that you shouldn't be paying one of the positions in football that has to have one of the highest injury rates, especially injuries like this. You're not going to see Jonathan Taylor get this money now. You're not going to see all of these up and coming running backs get the money that they're probably deserved, but teams are going to be hesitant to hand it out because now we got Nick Chubb clearly done for the season, and it's possible he might be done for the rest of his career.
Yeah, and it's the same knee that happened to in 2015 where, he got ACL, PCL, and LCL damage to that knee. And that's just scary. Everything coming out about that. Stefanski's going to have to end up changing the offense around Deshaun Watson. And I think that between Kareem Hunt and Jerome Ford, who went for over 7 yards per carry in his first game with extended action after Chubb's injury, we're going to have to see a big shift by this Cleveland offense. And we're going to see them have to rally around Nick Chubb because this is an emotional loss, too. I don't think that can be lost in it. I think everyone that was watching the game seemed to have the same reaction that, Aaron Rodgers kind of let off with week one, just kind of the air being sucked out of the room. It's very unfortunate. And we saw it even on a Monday night game towards the end of the regular season last year where DeMar Hamlin went down and you saw what come of that. So I'm really intrigued by how the Browns storyline is going to go for the rest of the year. And as for the running back market, I feel like if anyone was going to get that money and really set that market forward, it could have been Nick Chubb. That type of player, a consummate professional, always keeping his head down and working. And the results speak for themselves. It's just such a thankless position that we see the running backs kind of be in. So it's tough.
Wait, I have a quick question.
What's up?
You guys think OBJ's dad and Baker's comments are going to come true now about Stefanski? That he isn't that good of a coach?
He's going to have to prove himself this year. I think that between Baker showing out in Tampa Bay in his first two games, and Odell has always been. I know the wide receiver diva label hasn't eluded him, but he's a veteran in this league at this point. He's got the ring, he's got the years, he's got the tread on his tires to be able to be trusted in his opinion. I believe that Stefanski hasn't really done much to help himself throughout the first 2 weeks. I think Nick Chubb has been bailing him out for the past year or so. I think Deshaun Watson could have very well just been rusty last year, but now it's time to put up or put out because this is the type of blow that happens to teams during the years. We've seen the Chargers get knocked out with injuries like this. The Jets, it just happened to last week. I feel like this is going to be the time where the AFC playoff picture starts to get a little bit clearer with injuries happening to teams like the Jets and the Browns, or teams are going to rally around Zach Wilson. Not going to happen. Teams are going to rally around maybe Deshaun Watson. We're going to see what type of leader, what type of person Deshaun Watson has become over these past few years.
Because I saw a little thing saying Deshaun Watson really does play better under the spread. And now that with that injury, do you think Stefanski's going to be all right, let's switch it up, let's go to the spread?
I think if Stefanski doesn't, he's not going to see time past Watson. Watson's going to win that power struggle, and he's going to see another coach after the guaranteed contract that he got.
Yeah, that's another thing. You can't trade off that contract. That's a quarter of some teams' cap. They're going to trade for that contract. So,
right.
We'll see how that goes.
I also wanted to bring up another running back injury. That's not season-ending, but due to the game that we just witnessed last night where the Giants looked extremely helpless with Daniel Jones under the helm at quarterback and no clear running back replacement for Saquon Barkley. I know Brightwell had a nice couple catches. Matt Breida got into the end zone. But this Giants team looked completely listless without Saquon Barkley. I know we talked about it week one when Deion Jackson kind of stunk up the place for the Colts and lost 2 fumbles. These running backs aren't going to get paid what they want, but I know there are definitely going to be some teams in the market to possibly replace some of these guys soon. I don't think they're rallying around Daniel Jones. I'm not sure if there's something going on inside the locker room behind closed doors when it comes to the Giants and Brian Dable, but this team does not seem to be rallying around Jones or Dable as much this year.
I think that the main reason why this team looked bad, because obviously with Saquon being out, but I'm not going to give all the blame to Dable and Jones because you're going against a ferocious 49ers team on the road. Even going into the offseason, this team didn't really do that much. They didn't have that much cap. They had to pay guys like Saquon Barkley. They had to pay Daniel Jones. You had to pay Dexter Lawrence. You had to pay your big time guys, and it's just you couldn't do so much with your salary cap. But I feel like they should have found a way to try to get especially more interior guys of that offensive line, because Ben Bredesen is one of your better guards out. He didn't play last night as well. John Michael Schmitz doesn't look like he's playing that well as either. But I just found a way. They just needed a way to try to impact, especially more on the offensive end. Receivers, they don't look good. Isaiah Hodgins had a lot of promise for him. I don't think he was even looked at through this whole game. Your best option is Darren Waller, who can barely run these days with a messed up hamstring.
No,
So
I would
I don't
say
blame Daniel Jones. I blame more the GM in this case. John, I blame the GM.
Yeah, Hodgins, I would say, like, one throw I did go his way. Sailed on him. That wasn't his fault that he didn't catch that. Darren Waller, I know he's not athletic as he used to be, but some of those passes were a little up there, too, and a little out of the way. So I think the blame honestly falls squarely on Daniel Jones. I don't think Dable is blameless because of the fact that I'm sure he had a say in whether Daniel Jones was going to get the money or Saquon Barkley. I know we just talked about the running back market kind of being in shambles a minute ago. But this is a team that rallied around the running back, not the quarterback. Was wondering if there was some resentment there from the rest of the roster as to see if Dable and the front office possibly made the wrong choice there. I don't think Dable gets the exemption.
With Daniel Jones, I feel like the money he got paid, it was in a sense deserved, but at the same time premature. I think the Giants just overperformed last year. And they were a great team, but now we're looking at this year. They have one of the worst offensive lines in the league. They don't have weapons outside of Saquon. Like, you got almost no one to throw to. Darren Waller's been looking iffy to start the year. I don't think you could put all the blame on Daniel Jones. I think you still need to put a team around him to get a full assessment of who he is as a quarterback. But at the same time, you know, if you're going to pay him that kind of money, there might be some expectation for him to uplift the team, his receivers. So I think I can go either way on the blame game.
I mean, I'm not a big Daniel Jones fan, but it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like we said, the power struggle. There's going to be a power struggle soon. It might not be this year. It might be next year. Who knows? There's going to be a power struggle soon now, especially if Saquon walks. And if I'm Saquon, I'm walking. I just got hurt. I wanted some money. You gave it to my quarterback instead. Then you played cheap with me to the point where you basically gave me a contract where I could walk next year, but it's the same amount of money I was going to make with the tag, which you tried to give me. And it's like, what do I got to do to get my money? If I'm going to get tagged here and get minimum here, let me go to the Chiefs. Let me go the 49ers, go join a crew over there.
So that's some scary thoughts.
So, no, that's really where it's going to come down to. When are, like, NBA players did it, they got guaranteed contracts. There's no reason for them to do it. They just did it because they want to win. When are the running backs going to be like, yo, one of us is cool. They don't want to give us the ball 20 times because they don't want us getting hurt. All right, McCaffrey, you go out there to catch the ball and run the ball for about 15 plays or 15 touches. I'll do the same, 15, 12 touches. We play all season. We both get minimums. Cool. Word. Instead of go play for minimums for these teams that are tanking, that are losing, that are hurting them. Now, if I get hurt with Christian McCaffrey, fuck it. It was my choice.
Before we move on to one more injury that I want to get to before we start previewing the games for the week, I wanted to touch on where you're going with that too. You're talking about Christian McCaffrey a few times, and we see the other side of what a running back can do for a team in terms of Christian McCaffrey is knocking defenders off of himself. He's making them look very weak. And he looks insane. He looks healthy. When he takes a big hit, he jumps right back up. I saw him at some point kind of get like a tackle wrapped around his ankle. And like those are always going to make you nervous when somebody's getting tackled, running back or not. He just popped right up. No issue at all. And every game this season, he has proven to be explosive. He's come up with the big play. I forget if he got to the 100-yard mark yesterday, but I know he cleared it with ease his first 2 weeks. So when we talk about running backs getting guaranteed money, it's like, yeah, we want to pay these guys. Possibly, like, you know, if any position's going to be paid guaranteed money right off the bat besides quarterbacks, maybe it should be running backs. If we're not going to at least bump the pay, at least guarantee us what you're going to pay us. And I wanted to shift the attention real quick to another NFC East team that suffered a very, very crucial injury. The Dallas Cowboys lost Trayvon Diggs in a practice injury towards ACL. No more one-on-ones, DiNucci says. How do we feel about that? Do you think one-on-ones are the issue?
Torn ACL is a torn ACL. It could have happened. I hate going back to the NBA, but what's this? John Wall tore his knee walking up the stairs coming from his daughter's birthday party. stuff like that happens. You can't choose where it happens.
Nyheim Hines, I think, had it happen to him on a jet ski. Somebody crashed into him. It wasn't even like an accident that was on him.
No jet skis in the regular season too, then, Ben DiNucci? Come on. Well, you gotta play 1-on-1. You gotta get your reps in.
Whoa, what was that? Stop giving these owners ideas.
I listen. Ban jet skis. No daughters' birthday parties. I mean, if I was the owner of a football team here, yeah, this is a fun-free zone. If I'm the owner, no jet skis, no birthday parties.
You have to get back to the good old NFL, no fun league.
Yes, 2 yards in a cloud of dust.
Absolutely. No celebrations when you score a touchdown. No celebrations at all. Just hand the ball to the referee, keep your head down. Be humble.
There we go. The good old Barry Sanders tactic.
Absolutely.
I feel like DiNucci has a reason why he doesn't like them. Probably seen an injury or two, or just stuff happening from one-on-ones. Negative more so positive. So as a quarterback too, I feel like that's probably sucks for him. Having the DB basically know what he's about to do, having one receiver, that must suck as a quarterback, but that might be it. But who knows? It must be a whatever they say, no one-on-ones.
And how do we feel about this impacting the Cowboys on the field? I know we just talked about a little bit about how it relates to practice and how those injuries possibly come out in the one-on-ones. But now the Cowboys are without their best corner. Yeah, they have Stephon Gilmore, and thank God they do, because I can't imagine what that secondary would look like without him. But now the Cowboys team that was a legitimate Super Bowl contender, and some would say Super Bowl favorite, is now back in a state of relative limbo. They took a big hit to their defense. Trayvon Diggs, I know he had his up and down times, but we're talking about a first-team All-Pro here.
What my thing is that I think the defense will still be all right if you still have you still have a number one corner in Stephon Gilmore. So I'm not really too concerned about the really just secondary in the general, because Dan Quinn's one of the best DCs in the league. Like this pass rush is still going to be there. The linebackers are going to play solid. I'm not really that concerned. They will take a hit with production, especially from the secondary, but I don't think it's going to be that huge of a drop, because you still got players like Jaron Kearse, Deron Bland, Gilmore, Jordan Lewis. These players, they'll be all right. They're coached very well, and I don't really expect too much of a hit.
I feel like those other guys are going to go earn their money. The Jordan Lewises. I'm a big fan of Jordan Lewis. I don't know why. He's just one of the guys I really like.
Let's hope so. I remember Jordan Lewis. Jordan Lewis has been with the Cowboys since the start, right? He was drafted in Dallas?
Yeah, he was drafted.
Yeah, he's kind of like a Dallas homegrown type of player.
Yeah, I've seen his name go in and out of the headlines, which tells me he's kind of gone in and out of the starting lineup over the years, especially now. I'm sure he obviously didn't earn a spot over Gilmore or Diggs, but now we'll see him kind of come back into the spotlight there. He's going to have a big role if the Cowboys are going to maintain any hopes of making the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he was more so of a nickel DB. But now he's going to possibly find himself more so in that line as a rotation guy too. So, yeah, I like him. I really, really like him. He tackles. When he plays short, he isn't afraid to go low on the. It sucks to say it, but go low on the running backs. Go head up with them. He's a good. I like him. He's a solid coverage guy, and I feel like that's what they're going to need at this point. Solid coverage guys who could come into the game and make a play, or not even make a play. Just go out there and plug and play. They just need a bunch of plug and play guys. A few of them make a play here and there. They'll be fine. That defense will be perfect. It's a big loss, but it's not too much of a loss. More so to say that it knocks them out of contention. I still have them up there in contention.
So it sounds like we all agree that they're going to be underdogs facing the Arizona Cardinals this week. And I'm going to use that to move us into this week's slate of games. We have a big divisional net matchup, and I don't think I'm being biased here by bringing up Patriots Jets first. I think that we're going to see the Jets have a realistic shot at ending this 14-game lose streak against the Patriots, which involves some really pathetic losses, some shutouts. Patriots made it over 40, 30, 50 points, while the Jets have scored less than 10 points and probably a good half of them. How are we feeling about this week, guys?
I think this is going to be Zach Wilson's first prove-it week this year. Because, asking him to come in against the Cowboys, who are arguably the best defense in the game right now. They got Micah Parsons. just flying through O-lines, especially the Jets O-line, which is arguably the worst in the league right now. I feel like this is his real first prove-it game. He's going up against not an insane Belichick defense, but a tough one. And I think we're going to be able to see if he has what it takes to win some games for the Jets this year. I think we're gonna see how he performs against a division rival. I mean, the Bills, he was all right. I think a lot of that was the team kind of picking it up for Rodgers. Now we got to see our team come around Wilson, play against the Patriots, who've had our number the last 14 games. It's going to be really interesting to see. And like I said, it's his first prove-it game this year.
And I'm gonna kind of jump off what Zach just said, but I'll actually be at the Jets Cowboys game this Sunday.
Jets
So
Cowboys.
I'll be more of a closer view on the game. What I really want to see is better offensive line play, especially in the pass protection. We are one of by far the worst pass protecting lines in the league. Dwayne Brown has missed the last 2 practices. And if he's going to be out, I'm expecting maybe moving Elijah Vera Tucker to the left tackle spot, move our rookie Joe Tippmann into guard, and really have like the best young combination of offensive line talent we possibly have for the Jets.
And another thing counterpoint to that offensive line. I think we move Becton to the left tackle, and at the right tackle we put in the standout rookie from last year, now in his second year, Max Mitchell.
Max Mitchell is a good possibility.
Dog.
I like him too.
He held his own.
He was playing very well
year.
until he had blood clots, and that ended his season. But that could be another possibility. But ABT could play the tackle spot. He's played it for us a couple of times last year before he got hurt.
And he did well with it, despite it being his first real experience at that position.
And another thing I want to say is that I just want another ferocious pass rush this week. The last week the defense didn't play too well because they were on the field too much. The defense got tired, and John Franklin Myers had a roughing the pass call that should have never been called. The NFL came out and said that should have never been roughing the passer. So another way the Jets got kind of screwed in this game. But I'm hoping it's a clean game. The refs don't try to find a way to find ref shenanigans. I just want a clean game. Hopefully the Jets come out as a win.
Who are we taking, guys? Jets or Patriots?
Gotta take the Jets. Come on.
I was just gonna say
I'm gonna take the Jets on here, and the score is gonna be, I'm gonna say 14-10 because it's gonna be raining this Sunday. It's gonna be a downpour, 3 to 5 inches of rain up in East Rutherford. So I don't think it's gonna be a high scoring game. Give me 14-10. Jets win.
I'm saying the Pats win, and I'm not a big Pats fan. I'm not a Pats fan at all, but I'm saying this is Max Riley year. This is week 1. He went against the Eagles. Not much you could do about that. I mean, yeah, he hasn't shown us much to say, this is his rally year. But I believe in the rally year. I believe in the, shut up, I have an OC now. Stop comparing me to Tom. I'm my own QB. Let me play like I want to play.
Mac Jones is 0-2 with his new OC, quote unquote.
Yeah, I was going to say he's 0-2, but I feel like this is his type of... Like you guys said, this is a big prove-it game for Zach Wilson. I feel like this is a big prove-it game for him. He's going to have to go out there and do something against this defense.
Against that Jets defense.
That Jets defense, as much as that offense is banged up and stagnant, that defense isn't. That defense can win them games.
The Atlanta Falcons, 2-0, now taking on the Detroit Lions. And their Patrick defense without CJ Gardner-Johnson. Are we going to see the Falcons go to 3-0 with the Bijan Algier backfield?
I believe so. As a victim of them, week 1, I believe so. That team could run down any team. They're playing a high school type offense. You hear that joke a lot on social media. It's not a joke anymore. Their coach flat out said, I don't care. Whoever is hot at the time's hot. We're going to give them the ball. And how it's looking, those running backs are going to be hot all season. So Kyle Pitts owners, I don't think you're going to – I'd sell him early because I don't think he's going to be getting the ball too much this season.
I think it's gonna be definitely an interesting game. I feel like we're seeing 2 teams right now that America's rooting for in Atlanta and Detroit. Detroit was kind of my backup team coming into this year with like behind the Jets. You always got to root for another team. We're not going to see David Montgomery is most likely not going to be available for this game, so the Lions are going to have to lean a lot more heavily on Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I don't think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to play.
I was just about to say, I think he has a toe problem. He's got like
probable.
He's
So
probable,
it's
so he's going to play, but explosiveness might not be there.
it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, it's going to be an interesting game. I think it'll be a close game, but I'm leaning more towards the Falcons right now with the injuries on Detroit's side.
Are we losing faith in Motor City Dan Campbell? Jared Goff, I know he might not have David Montgomery. I know Amon-Ra St. Brown might not be at 100% even if he plays. I still like this team. I think the Falcons earned their wins. Yeah, they went to Green Bay and took that one from the Packers. Wait, no, they were at home and they wrestled that one back from the Packers. And the week
We could
before
argue
that,
that Jordan Love stumbled. Jordan Love stumbled on the last play too, so we could say.
football gods are always at work when we think about these things for sure. But I also think that the Falcons are very good. Bijan Robinson is possibly already a superstar in this league after putting up over 170 yards last week. I just don't see the Falcons taking that immediate of a step, even as a contender for the NFC South for this year and the future to come, especially if Desmond Ridder looks good. He looked a lot better week 2. Zach, we didn't get the chance to tell you that you're wrong about Desmond Ridder and that he's actually going to be a Pro Bowler, but he is.
He is. He will be.
I refuse to believe that.
I'm on the
Right
Desmond
there.
Ridder hype train. I've always been since college.
Wrong. That's all I got to say.
So
Wrong.
I'm taking the Lions here. How about you
You're wrong.
guys?
I'm going to take the Falcons in this matchup. I think it's going to be super close. I think it's going to be a close, high-scoring game. But I'm going to take I'm going to take the Falcons on this. I don't think that run defense can stop Bijan or Algier, especially in the red zone.
And Zach, Tev, you have your votes on the Falcons. Am I correct?
Yeah, like I said, the Falcons. I think they're just going to lean heavily on that rushing offense. Definitely not Desmond Ridder's weak arm. So it's going to look. It's going to be a fun game. It's going to be a gritty game, especially going up against the gritty Detroit team.
Yeah, it's our first look at Gibbs versus Bijan, so that's fun.
Now I'm going to shift the focus. When we speak about gritty, we maybe think about a certain wide receiver doing it in the end zone a lot. Do we see Justin Jefferson getting this team their first win of the season, the Minnesota Vikings, over a team that's also been struggling to get that first win, the Los Angeles Chargers, and Brandon Staley's league-leading worst defense?
I mean, I think Justin Jefferson is just these past 2 weeks has proven why he's the number 1 overall pick in every fantasy draft. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was number 2. Thank God he fell to me. But correct me if I'm wrong, he's had over 100 yards the last 2 games. But I still think he's touchdownless. I believe so. Someone could fact check me on
By
that.
that hair of that fumble, he almost crossed the goal line with that one. But I do believe he is, in fact, end zoneless. I know KJ Osborne has made the end zone. I was about to say Jalen Rieger. Not Jalen Rieger. Jordan Addison has 2 touchdowns already this season. So Kirk Cochains has been getting the ball around, but that offensive line not looking too good, especially in the interior and dealing with some injuries to the tackle spots. And the running back position might look better with Cam Akers, but I don't see anything there really pushing the needle for Minnesota to be really getting back into a contending phase. I think we all expected this because of some of the departures that we saw. This team really has become Kirk Cousins, who has developed into a legitimate starter quarterback. I still have a lot of faith in Kirk Cousins to do something even in the playoffs. I wouldn't be shocked if we see him in a Super Bowl one day. Maybe not winning one, but I can see him dragging his team to the finish line. I just don't think it's going to be this Vikings team because I don't think they have enough around them. I just took a little pot shot at Brandon Staley's defense, but this Minnesota Vikings defense might not be much better.
I lost all hope in Coke boy Kirk Cousins, man. Listen. If it's past 1 o'clock, he lost. I'm letting you know now. If the game's past 1 o'clock, he lost. If it's a 1 o'clock game, it's like playing roulette and only playing numbers. When your number hits, damn, does it feel good. When that number doesn't hit, you're staring at everyone else, play the colors or play the columns, and just play safe and play it the right way. You're like, I'm an idiot. Like, what's wrong with me? That's how I look at Kirk now. I can't say I hate anyone, but I really dislike Kirk Cousins. I really dislike the number 1 wide receiver in the league right now.
I was
Possibly
just building
top
this
2
guy
receiver in the
up,
league.
and now you're knocking him down. What's
No,
wrong with
I'm
Kirk
thrashing
Chains,
him.
Tev?
Listen. Coke Boy Kirk has proved me wrong
If I
every single
die,
time.
I die. That's the kind of quarterback I want. I do like that.
Listen. He's the type to come off the last 2 games that he had and throw for damn near 300 yards. Almost a perfect game. Shut me up. Shut all the credits up. I'm probably not the only one that feels like this. But I don't think Kirk has... Yeah, he showed his flashes since Washington. But, like, I've never seen him really give us, like, all right, like, let's stand behind him. He's our number one. There's nobody that we could get available that's better than him. There's no one in the draft that we think that is better than him. I always thought he was a run-of-the-mill quarterback, like replaceable, just always in that middle bracket. Then last year, yeah, he had a good year because, I mean, Justin Jefferson had such a great year. Who are we going to give more credit to, Justin or Kirk at this point? It's obvious. It's obviously Justin.
I'll give you that one for sure.
Justin goes somewhere else, Justin might break the record. If Justin ended up in Kansas City, I hate to bring them up as an example all the time when I say players need to go somewhere. But if he ends up in Kansas City, he's breaking the record.
I feel like this is
Tyreek saying he could do it.
This is not only a good example, but a good segue into like talking about the other team too. Imagine pairing him with the opponent he's facing this week with the quarterback Justin Herbert leading the way for the Chargers. Imagine those two together. Keenan Allen really is still getting it done, but he has a few more years left. Mike Williams has always been injury prone, and I know they got Quentin Johnston in the first round, but imagine they got a J. Jeff over there. I think that would be a 3,000 receiving yard season, and I think that would get Chargers out of the mud because they need a 3,000 yard season out of a wide receiver if they're going to get past this trash defense that they're putting out there. J.C. Jackson has been a complete bust of a free agent acquisition so far, and I feel like what we see out of Joey Bosa and co. Khalil Mack still out there, I don't think we're going to see this team be a contender for long unless they make a change. Maybe not truly a Justin Jefferson. I don't think he's up for sale. Maybe the Chargers give a call anyway, but I wanted to get the other guys' thoughts on Justin Jefferson or even just the Chargers offense and defense in general.
What I think is that I still think that the Chargers defense is gonna get plumbled here. Like we just said, J.C. Jackson's terrible. They don't have any other great secondary pieces besides Derwin James. Like Joey Bosa's overrated. Khalil Mack is getting up there in age. The coaching is not there. I don't think this Chargers team honestly has a chance. It's all gonna rely on Justin Herbert, but I still think the Vikings will go in here with 2 new running backs. With even Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins playing well, I think the Vikings are going to go in here and dominate this game against the Chargers. It's going to be a blowout, in my opinion.
So I'm taking it that Charlie is on the Charger side. How about the rest of us?
I'm leaning to the Vikings. I think we're going to see Jefferson get into the end zone not once but twice. I'm not sure if he's going to eclipse 100 again. But I think that they're going to include him more in the team's red zone game plan. I think we're going to see Cam Akers make some big moves. I think it'll be interesting to see against the Chargers' weak defense, and especially a Chargers team that is also just seems like they're just sputtering out of gas this early in the season.
One more point I want to present to you guys before we do move on to the next game, which will be Denver-Miami. Do you think Staley might be the first coach we see fired this year?
No,
I agree. Yes, I think he will be the first coach that's fired. If he goes on a really bad losing streak, he's going to lose his job by at least week 8.
I agree with Charlie because I think Staley is really starting to wear out his welcome with all those thrown games. Herbert is clearly still playing well.
I picked the Vikings to win, not the Chargers.
I know. Broncos, Dolphins. Dangerous Wilson versus
let
Tua
him
Tagovailoa.
Let him cook.
Do you think we're going to see him cook?
Up. Russ has been cooking. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Russ in this revitalized Sean Payton offense. I really was skeptical because I think a lot of Russ's success came from Pete Campbell in Seattle. So now we got Sean Payton, another legendary quarterback, legendary coach, in the National Football League. I think that's all Russ needed. I think he needed a guy who can call the right plays, and he put Russ in that situation. He's going to make that play.
I might take the opposite side of your stance here, Zach. I watched that Broncos Commanders game, and yes, I did see a rejuvenated Russ for that first half. Marvin Mims had two big catches, kind of in the same way that Jalen Hyatt did for the Giants this past week against the Cardinals. I just didn't quite see that resilience by Russ and Sean Payton yet. I think that if we were talking about the Cowboys team coming into Denver and taking that one, ripping that out of their hands, I'd be okay with that. But we're talking about a Washington Commanders team. Eric Bieniemy was in the same division as them. We can't say that Bieniemy's offensive scheme caught them by surprise. This is something that they were familiar with. Plus Patrick Mahomes. Now you put Sam Howell in that offense, and he looks even better than Russell Wilson. I thought he looked the part of that guy. And I think Sam Howell might be here to stay because,
Sosa.
What was that?
Sammy Sosa, man.
Sammy Sosa.
Sammy Sosa.
I'm loving Sam Howell. And Russell Wilson did look good. I don't want to take it away. He still looks good out of the pocket, and I think Sean Payton is ultimately going to make him look better than Nathaniel Hackett did last year. I'm just not sold on this Broncos team as a whole, and I don't think Russ is back enough to really bring him over that.
I agree with you, Matt, on there because I exactly what you said. Russell Wilson looked great in the first half, but after that, that's when the Commanders really started picking up on the offensive end. This game could have ended. This game could have went into overtime. Like that's how close this game was with that Hail Mary of a touchdown by Russell Wilson. But going into this game against Miami, I think this is a game that Miami should definitely win because they have the better offensive talent. The defense I think is playing better than Denver this year. I just think that Vic Fangio and his defense is going to beat the crap out of this Sean Payton led offense. I'm going to take the Dolphins in this game.
Yeah, it might be a little chess match at some point, but I say by third quarter, it's gonna be a clear cut Miami win.
I think we're going to see Denver finally get their first win this year. I think it's going to go towards Denver. I think Tua is going to have a rough game. I think those concussions are going to start catching up with him at this point in the season already.
Yeah.
I think he's going to. I think his brain is looking like pudding as it is right now. So I think we're going to see Sean Payton capitalize on that. Lucky for Tua, there's no bounty gate on him right now, so he could probably survive this
that
week. That we know of, but I'm thinking Denver 1-2 after
Sean
this week's
Payton
game.
might have been the mastermind behind that. Remember, Greg Williams was the defensive coordinator to that Sean Payton Saints team, so maybe there is there's more.
Maybe there's a Lambo sitting on Tua's head this week. I don't know.
I think we might. I'm just saying. I'm coming back to the podcast with a story if this happens. But let's take ourselves to another divisional matchup that's happening in the 1 p.m. slot of games. Texans, the only remaining starting quarterback rookie left, C.J. Stroud, that is possibly going to suit up this week, is taking on Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, who dropped a game against Kansas City. Could have possibly done a little more offensively, but they were against a tall task. So I feel like this is going to be a big bounce back week for the Jaguars. I don't think we have to ultimately spend too much time on this one. Maybe CJ Stroud will show promise. I just don't think that these teams are in the same stratosphere.
But I do want to say one thing, though. Please do not let Press Taylor play call this game. Let Doug Peterson take care of the play calling on the offensive end.
Think that might give them some trouble if they let him.
Yeah, I think so, because that's the main reason why Jacksonville really lost last week against KC. I don't think Press Taylor's play calling was great. It was terrible. Calvin really didn't get open. Christian Kirk had a great game, but Calvin really, you got to get your number one receiver involved more actively in that game. Which, if Doug Peterson's in, I think Doug Peterson's playing calls, I think Calvin really is going to have a big week. But I still think the Jaguars are going to go in there and dominate.
Yeah, this is going to be a tune-up game for Jacksonville this week. Coming off a tough loss against Kansas City, they're coming up against the D'Amico Ryan defense, which is it's nothing to write home about, but they could play football. So it'll be fun to see Trevor Lawrence play against that defense and the surprising Texans offense. We'll see. But like I said, I think this will still be a tune-up game for Jacksonville, and I think Jacksonville is going to end up winning.
The main objective is keep your quarterback out the tent. That's all it is.
After just talking about two AFC South teams, let's transition to another one. One that might be going into this week without their franchise quarterback. Anthony Richardson still dealing with concussion protocol. Did not practice yesterday.
I don't want to butt in, but I saw a tweet from Rappaport. He will be out. Minshew will be the starter this week.
Minshew is confirmed to be the starter. Thank God I picked him up on my fantasy team because Minshew looked very sharp last week against the Texans. I know that this is a taller task to go against the Baltimore Ravens defense, but they're still banged up. And this Ravens team hasn't been as fearsome as we've seen in the previous years. They're still getting things together. They're fielding a relatively new roster, especially on the offensive side. I wouldn't be shocked if this game gets a little more competitive than we look at it to be in the first place. What are your guys' thoughts?
It's supposed to be really rainy out there. So, yeah, it's supposed to be a storm out there. So, they're going to rely on their run games, both of them. And with both of their run games being banged up outside of, what's his face? Outside of Lamar, we're not going to really see much, I don't think. That's like the forecasts are all wrong. But it seems like it's going to be a really rainy. It might not even come down to throwing. It might just come down to the running game. That said, Ravens might come out on top.
What a run game we're going to get. Competition of running backs. Gus Edwards and Justice Hill versus Zach Moss, who got pretty much all the carries out of the Colts backfield. I think 98% of the snaps went to him. Or not touches, I'm sorry, not snaps. But the snap count was also insanely high.
Yeah, that's the same. I agree with that because Zach Moss has been kind of killer so far, honestly. He came back from his broken arm during training camp. He got all the work. Deion Jackson only had special teams. But going into this game against Baltimore, I honestly think this could be an upset for the Colts. I think the Colts can go in there and win against Baltimore. I just have that gut feeling. I just think this Baltimore defense is going to look kind of lax. I don't think they're going to go in there and completely dominate. I think it's going to be kind of a trap game for the Ravens. And I think the Colts will win in a very close game.
Zach, do you think we're going to see the Minshew magic this week?
I don't think we're going to see the Minshew magic this week. I think the Colts are going to rely on their run game just like the Ravens are. And I think also for the Ravens, they're going to start to realize that they might need to make a trade for a running back at some point before the trade deadline. I think if the Giants continue to play at the level they're playing at, I wouldn't be surprised if Saquon Barkley is a Raven by the trade deadline.
That's a combination that's actually very tantalizing.
I was thinking of another running back that could be a Raven, but
I think I was with you there, Charlie. Were you also thinking about Jonathan Taylor?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think either way, we do see a need for a running back if we're going to see that Baltimore offense truly take the next leap. So I think I'm going Baltimore ultimately, despite the potential upset alert from Indianapolis. We heard that Charlie is taking the upset alert with Indianapolis taking the win over Baltimore. Zach, what are you locking in?
But I'll be lone wolfing it. I'm going to lone wolf it.
Hey, maybe we'll be coming back to you saying you're right. So what are we feeling, Tev?
Yeah, I'm going Ravens as well.
Ravens?
Yeah, and I got to lock in on the Ravens too.
Cool. Now we're going to cover one last AFC South team, actually also going against an AFC North team. We're seeing the Cleveland Browns host the Tennessee Titans. This Cleveland Browns team probably seeing Kareem Hunt make his debut, while Nick Chubb, as we previously mentioned, is going to be out for the rest of the season at least. What are we going to see out of this game? What was once probably a very tantalizing running back matchup between Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb, all of a sudden just has a huge caveat next to it. I wonder what we're going to see here, guys. What do you think?
The one thing I think we're going to see is just one thing: defense. These teams both have really good defenses, and I don't think there's going to be no offense in this game. This is going to be a super gritty, hard-nosed, no-nonsense type of game. I think this game could potentially go into overtime, but without Nick Chubb, I'm going to lean towards the Titans in this game.
I think we're going to see Myles Garrett in that Titans backfield a lot. I think he's going to have a lot of TFLs. I think he's going to really contain Derrick Henry, unfortunately, even though he's on my fantasy team. I do think it'll be a defensive showdown, too. But I'm going to be leaning more towards the Titans as well.
You guys are showing no faith. Yes, they lost Nick Chubb, but like I brought up earlier, that's also an emotional loss. Don't you think they're going to want to bring this one home for him? I think
I was
Stefanski
just
might
gonna say,
surprise us. I think Stefanski might get us Jerome Ford out and move in because Jerome Ford seemed very spry, very quick. That's actually an asset that he might have over Nick Chubb. So maybe we see the Browns get really unique here on this Tennessee defense, which has been tough so far, well coached by Mike Vrabel, but kind of lacks the big names of other big defenses around the league.
I was gonna say, I see Stefanski shocking me too, because a few years ago there's reports that OBJ's dad and company were saying that he wasn't that good of a coach, and I think he's gonna shut up a lot of people saying that comment right there. I feel like he's gonna find a way to elevate Deshaun Watson. That's one thing we've yet to see. We've seen little spurts of it here and there, but I want to see a full game of Deshaun Watson dominating. I want to see that again. I want to see Clemson. It sucks to say it, but Clemson, even Texas, Deshaun Watson. I want to see him really put his foot on the floor and win this game for his team.
Yeah, I think I'm going Cleveland Browns here. How about you, Tev?
Right there with you, man. I'm there with the
Awesome.
Cleveland Browns.
We got a split party here. 2 on the Browns, 2 on the Titans. We'll see which of us prevails. Moving on to the last 1 o'clock game, I wanted to bring us to the Buffalo Bills, taking on maybe another potential trap game here in the Washington Commanders. I know I posted you guys the possibility of the Raiders playing it last week, and I don't think we can say that they held their end of the bargain up at all. Do we think the Washington Commanders might have a better chance, especially on their home field down in FedEx Field?
Yes, sir, man. Sammy Sosa. I think that Riverboat Ron, like I said, one thing to think about with him, he's been in this situation before. Hot seat, job against the line. Let's see what I could do. Let's throw someone out there. Pick Sammy Sosa. Sam Howell, some that don't know. He's balling out. I feel like this is going to be this is more so of a test game more than a trap game if this team's for real, because this division's really, really hard. If they can go out and catch the Bills unexpectedly, then we could have the conversation that maybe this team is that team that come out the playoffs over the Giants more so than the Giants over them. It seems pretty good. Their defensive line's starting to have a lot more energy. Jamar Chase finally got a sack. Who knows, man? I think this team could really scheme up well. It depends. If Stephon Diggs has a Stephon Diggs game, then it's dark. But after that, I think they could hold their own.
I'm guessing that the Cinderella story for the Washington Commanders is going to end this Sunday. I don't think they haven't versed any type of quarterback like Josh Allen this year so far, and they're going to realize how great he is. I don't think this defense is going to have a chance against this offense. I'm taking the Bills in a pretty dominant fashion.
I'm going with the Commanders. I think Josh Allen's going to continue to make mistakes. I think we're looking at the Commanders' defense. Kendall Fuller, who's been off to a really hot start so far. I think he's got like a sub 10% target rate. I think we're going to see Josh Allen throw some more interceptions. I think it will be a close game, but I do think that Sam Howell's going to weather the storm and rally this team for a late score and to win this game.
Yes,
I think
sir,
I played
man.
all you
Sammy
guys.
Sosa.
I'm going with the Buffalo Bills here. I don't think they're going to drop what they did so well against the Vegas Raiders last week. I know I'm the one that proposed the question of whether or not the Commanders will pull this one out. And I'm glad you guys have a lot of faith. I feel like, a lot of you guys are on the bandwagon with me because I was the one kind of thinking that this Commanders team might be a little more competitive than we might give them credit for. That being said, the Bills are locked in. I think Ted brought up the point that if anyone's close to 100% right now, it's the Bills after their beat down of a team that was supposed to be relatively competitive in the AFC. Maybe not towards the top, but between Jimmy G being a career winner and Devontae Adams also being in the game. You can't count out the Raiders, and I know you can't count out the Commanders as well with Riverboat Ron, with Sammy Sosa, with the receivers he has, the offense looking so good. I think that this game will be encouraging for them. I don't think they're going to drop this one. I think they're going to play up to the Bills, and I'm going to be really happy to see that if they do. But I just can't take them over the Bills. I'm going the Bills.
Smart choice.
We're split. We're split.
Split again.
I love it. I love it.
We're going to have to see. I'm going to write down my picks by the end of this game. Or by the end of this podcast. Fuck. Moving on. I think that was the end of the 1 o'clock slate of games. So we're going to the 4:15 slate. I want to start with Tev's Carolina Panthers. Now seeing Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, lead the way against the Seattle Seahawks. Their defense still looking relatively suspect, giving up a lot of points to that Detroit Lions team, but ultimately they're the ones that pulled it out, so who cares? How do we feel about Andy Dalton now being at the helm of your franchise? That patchwork offense we were just talking about earlier.
Man, I hope the Red Boner could help us get a win. But our defense still looks pretty good. Frankie Louvu is stepping up tremendously. Him and Brian Burns are forces to be reckoned with on our D-line on that edge. Linebacker crews still need some help. DBs are hurt. Brady Christensen, who got hurt for us, was really that glue to our offensive line. It's still putting in a quarterback in a helpless situation with the wide receiver help, but it's more so a vet at this point, other than a rookie that's learning the pace of the game at the same time. Andy knows the pace a lot more. Andy's been around a lot more, so I want to see us get this win out. Like you said, they got a lot of points out, and I feel like our defense could stop Geno for the most part. So let's see, man. Hopefully we can get a win.
I like the Panthers for this game. I think Dalton is an improvement over Bryce Young, and I think an experienced quarterback going up against a weak Seattle passing defense. I think they've allowed over 300 yards per game just to start the year. I think we're going to see Dalton sling the rock. I think we're going to see a dominant Panthers win.
I think we're going to see a Seattle win. I think Geno Smith's going to go in there, play like he did last year, and just go nuts, because I think this is the week when DK Metcalf hits and Jackson Smith and Jigba kind of goes off. I think this is the week because Panthers secondary is getting weak. They don't have J.C. Horn for a long time, and now they only have Dante Jackson, which I kind of think he's a little bit of a irrelevant, but I think the Seattle Seahawks is going to beat this Panthers team by pretty dominant. I think the Panthers will go 0-3 so far.
I'm kind of closer on to what I'm not quite fully there with you, Charlie. I am going to take the Seattle Seahawks though over the Carolina Panthers. I think we're starting to almost get a little too overly critical of these rookie QBs, especially after we saw C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson ball out in the early weeks. I think Bryce Young will truly always be an upgrade over Andy Dalton. I don't think that's not even a debate. That being said, I think that this Panthers team, due to that, is going to struggle quite a bit this game. I don't think that the Seahawks team, especially playing at home in front of their loud home crowd, I don't think they're going to be inclined to drop this one. I think the Panthers, without the presence of Bryce Young possibly going off and popping off and becoming the Steph Curry, that's funny, Steph Curry of football, without that possibility, this Panthers team just remains a little behind the margin. I think that we're being a little too hard on Bryce Young, maybe. I know he had some misfires. He didn't look too great, too composed. But he still had some natural throws against the Saints, and that's a tough defense. So I'm just saying let's not get too down on Bryce Young too quick. But ultimately, yeah, I'm going the Seahawks.
And I got one more thing, is that Jamal Adams expected to be back this week, so he'll be making his debut for the Seahawks this year against the Panthers. So that's another
that reminds me of a word that you used earlier, Charlie. Irrelevant. Next. No. No. It's okay. It's okay. The beef's over. We've let it go. We've We've left it in the past. It's behind us. We've both buried the hatchet.
Maybe but you left him locked out.
Oh no!
I got Garrett Wilson in ADP because of him. So
yeah. So thank you, Jamal Adams. I think he will make a big presence. Jokes aside, I think that he adds a unique touch. Like, I know he's more of an in the box safety. He has his issues with coverage, especially his ball skills, but he's a presence. If he comes back at 100%, he's a dog. So I can't take that away from him. And I would like to transition us now to another complete dog, Justin Fields, now that we're actually going to see him let loose without his coaching, we're going to see an all-new Justin Fields, right, guys?
No.
Absolutely. Chiefs, the Bears are going to shock the world. They're going to beat their former head coach, Matt Nagy, into bits. I am taking the Bears in a shocking upset.
I'm taking the Bears too, and I'm not surprised Charlie's taking the Bears because he was trying to pry Justin Fields for me over the past few days, and I was not having it. I think we're going to see Justin Fields finally pick it up, be the true top 5 fantasy quarterback we know he can be, and I think we got to see the Bears finally get that first win of the season.
All aboard the Justin Fields hype train.
No. First off, I'm just going to say 2 things. First thing is, I know you guys saw the clip of the defender going up to DJ Moore and saying, they're not using you right. I miss tackling you. First off, if the other team sees you not being used right, and you're not even backing it up, you're not like, nah, bad game. You're like, yeah, I know. If the player is saying, yeah, I know as well, then laughing after, come on, it's cruised. My second point, what has that team ever proved us wrong? The only thing that we were wrong about was Justin Fields. Justin Fields may be the cream of the crop of the wrong and right train, but he's just caught in the wrong situation. You know when you meet the right girl and they're like, oh yeah, right girl, like right person, wrong time. He is the right person, awful time for this organization. I feel bad.
But you know what? But you know what though? With a lot of stuff going on with the Bears this week, Justin Fields' comment, the situation involving their defensive coordinator, I just think this is going to be a game that they're really motivated. They're really motivated to go in, and I think they're going to upset. And I think the Chiefs, also, by the way, the Chiefs' offense doesn't look that great with Matt Nagy as the OC.
I think that's going to be countered with the fact that the Bears' defense doesn't look too good. Mike Evans was getting open, available down the field. And you know who we're going to see fill that role for the Chiefs this week? One of my dark horses for a big performance is Justin Watson, the wide receiver, big-bodied, up there with Marquez Valdez-Scantling as the big receivers of this Kansas City offense. And I think that Mahomes might need to get those big guys out there. Watson's snap percentage went from, I believe, 21% week 1 to 46% week 2. Those aren't encouraging numbers on their own. But in a receiving core that we've seen struggle, Kadarius Toney has once again continued his struggles through week 2 after an awful week 1. I think we start seeing Andy Reid and Matt Nagy possibly go down the depth chart a little bit. Richie James had a great year for the Giants just last year, and he's still sitting there in the slot receiver depth chart. I think that this Chiefs offense is going to innovate, and they're going to be fine, even if this isn't their best installment. And this defense is going to bully the hell out of Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields might need to be playing looser, a little more natural. I don't think there's anything wrong about saying he's playing a little robotic. I think that's an accurate statement. He's seeing what we're all seeing. But at the same time, letting loose and ignoring and tuning out the coaching, the way it came off, I'm worried about what that means. Does he feel like the coaching is hurting him, is hindering his performance? Is he worried about overthinking? Does he feel like he can't process what the coaches are telling him to internalize? I feel like this reminds me of the Sam Darnold seeing ghost situation in a very odd way. I feel like this is a player that is admitting almost that he is not quite NFL ready. He's not quite there to be an NFL quarterback, an NFL passer. He is a fantastic field vision, but we need to see him develop throughout the year to become anything close to what we're hoping he'll be. Anything close to the type of player that Charlie's trying to pry out of Zach's fantasy team. So I think I'm ultimately not going to be able to entertain that thought. I'm impressed that you guys have that solidarity to both pick the Bears after they lose their defensive coordinator. I just have to go the Chiefs here.
I thought I was going to lone wolf that, but you know what? Shout out Goldman on being on Team Fields. You know, I have Fields in another league myself. I was trying to get double action of Fields, but I think he will have a bounce back. I think he'll have a bounce back game this year. They'll finally let him run the ball, get him more QB design runs. I think this could be a crazy win.
Split again, guys. We're split.
Seems like it. I think this is another one we're going to be split on. Cowboys Cardinals.
Ooh.
Trayvon Diggs gone. Arizona hosting this Dallas Cowboys team, reeling off a loss. Now, will we see this Cowboys team respond like I do anticipate the Cleveland Browns team doing for Nick Chubb? Maybe, maybe not. This team has to play for their Super Bowl hopes. Maybe they can't spend the same amount of time worrying or rallying around the player. It's next man up, like we were talking about earlier. So with this Dallas team, it's either they're going to have to put up, despite the lack of talent, the loss of talent, I should say, definitely not a lack of talent, or they're going to shut up and they're going to be upset by an Arizona Cardinals team that looked relatively feisty against the Giants in the first half before the wheels fell off again. How are we feeling there? And am I truly being ironic about us possibly being split about this Arizona game?
I think you have to be being ironic because the Cowboys don't need to play emotional to win this game. I think you're absolutely being ironic because the Cardinals suck, okay? We're looking at the first 0-17 team in NFL history here.
Whoa.
The Cowboys are going to absolutely come out and dominate this weak Cardinals team. When you got this Glennon coach who I hate, you got Joshua Dobbs at quarterback. I mean, how can there be an upset here? This isn't even a trap game. This is like the 16-0 Patriots going up against Rutgers, okay? It's going to be a slaughter on the field this Sunday.
Absolutely. And I got to say, shout out to the Impractical Jokers because this is the worst ever punishment for James Murray ever. Honestly, having to coach that Cardinals team. But yeah, Matt, you're ridiculous. Like, it's the Cardinals. It doesn't matter if they lose Trayvon Diggs. They still got a great defense. They destroyed our Jets last week. I'm taking the Cowboys 100-0.
I'm riding with the Cardinals. No, I'm not being ironic.
Whoa.
They're taking this one. Joshua Dobbs is going to light up this Cowboys defense. They're going to come out a step slow. I think they're going to be dejected by the loss of Trayvon Diggs. I think this Cardinals team will pull this one out 21-20. I think we see Josh Dobbs throw a touchdown. I think we see James Conner get into there for a touchdown. And I think we see a defensive touchdown. I think Dak Prescott gives this one up for the Cowboys. I think we see 2 picks. I think we see a lost fumble. I think we see that Dak Prescott from last year. Give me the Cardinals.
Josh Dobbs is going to have as many passing touchdowns as he does hair on his body, and that's 0. That's 0 right there.
Bird, what? Yo.
No.
Damn.
That's Will Smith's wife.
G.I. Jane 2. Can't wait to see it.
I'll be G.I. Jane 3 on that field this week.
Bro.
Oh, no. I haven't seen G.I. Jane 3, but that makes me think if it's G.I. Jane 3 on the field, wouldn't that be good for Josh Dobbs?
Listen. To continue on what Matt said, yeah, Dak's going to go throw 2 picks. That's what I was going to say. Stat line. Dak 2 picks, 180 yards, 150 yards, and he's going to sell this team. You gave him 20 points, shit. I was giving him 13. I was saying they're going out there scoring 13 points. That defense is going to look a little deflated. They're going to try to play down to this offense, and this offense is going to shock them, throw 20 on them, throw 20, 21 points on them. I see Josh throwing 2 TDs, actually.
There we go.
And then scratch that defensive TD, and I see what's his face getting that rushing TD. Connor getting that rushing TD.
Always finds his way to the end zone. Teb, are we with you? Are we together on this one again?
Yeah, so you're right with that. The split is right.
The split is back.
You're underestimating Dan Quinn himself. You're going to be in for a rude awakening.
You're overestimating Dak because
you're underestimating John Gannon. John Gannon's going to be the coach that brings them to the Super Bowl.
Let's remember, if John Gannon could get Dak to throw a pick, it's over.
Yeah.
You guys aren't going to hear the end of it.
No, he knows Dak. He was in that division with Dak. That Eagles team ate up the Cowboys when it wasn't Minshew starting.
What to do to make him uncomfortable. Let's make him uncomfortable, man. Let's
there we go.
Dak coming to this game.
I appreciate that, Teb. Just like the shout-out that Charlie gave Zach in the last one. Shout-out, Teb.
Yeah, I got you, man.
We got one more game to cover before we leave the rest for our Monday review. Sunday night, we see the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Las Vegas Raiders. Could this have been a worse Sunday night football to give us?
I disagree with that. I think Kenny Pickett might bounce back. The Raiders' defense, besides besides Max Crosby, looks pretty bad. They obviously don't have Chandler Jones due to the off the field mental health stuff, which I wish nothing but the best from him. I hope he gets the help that he needs. But I think this could be a game that Kenny Pickett could have honestly a pretty good game. I think this is a great game for George Pickens. I think George Pickens, without Deontay Johnson last week, he played very well against Cleveland, and I think he'll do the same against the Raiders. I'm gonna take the Steelers in a pretty solid win.
Actually, to your point, Charlie, this Raiders team is a team that Kenny Pickett led a fourth quarter comeback against and won the game with the
Christmas
Steelers.
Eve, the night of Franco Harris's passing.
All right, rest in peace, Franco Harris. I believe that similar result might play out. I do believe this one to be a close one. I think Jimmy G and Kenny Pickett do seem to play better as the game goes down the line as opposed to how they maybe start games sometimes. However, I might fall on a different side of the result than you. Between having the home matchup and having Devontae Adams with no true cornerback that could cover him or take him out of the game, the Steelers are going to have to come with a heavy defensive scheme in order to negate that potential benefit that Adams is going to give him over the field. I think that if Adams stretches the field and Josh Jacobs can get himself moving a little bit, which we've seen a very slow start, 9 carries, -2 yards last game, I think the Raiders could have a fantastic bounce-back game after getting embarrassed by Buffalo.
Yeah, I agree, but how much time is Jimmy G really going to get against TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith? And
That's a fair point.
And the rookie Keanu Becton.
JJ Watt himself called the two of them the next Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis.
That's a pretty good comparison. I like that. I like that comparison.
I see this. I see the Steelers winning in an ugly fashion. I see defense winning on this game. To your, like you said, that it's going to be hard to contain Devontae Adams, but I feel like Jimmy G, if they can get him flustered enough, it's not even going to come down to that. I feel like it's going to be an ugly game. Going to come down to turnovers. Whatever offense could keep the ball more, and I think the Steelers could keep the ball a little more, just because Najee Harris might be the slowest running back ever.
He got moving at one play. I remember a play broke down last week for the Steelers, and he came all the way from the other side of the field and kept it going. Like, yeah, it wasn't the quickest. If it was Jamal Charles over there, he would have been gone. But he was able to at least get past the line of scrimmage. I'll give him respect for that.
That was the same play I was thinking of when I said he might be the slowest running back in league history. So, I agree to disagree there. But I was
thinking of Peyton Manning. I think that's the difference. I was thinking Peyton Manning would have taken another 2 minutes to get this done.
I think I've seen Tom Brady run faster than him in certain instances. But yeah, I don't know. That team, I feel like that team could hold the ball a little more. Kenny Pickett, if he could throw less interceptions, and he hasn't been a turnover machine.
It's those little hands, the sub 10-inch hands.
Jersey strong, man. Let's see if he can keep it. I'm with the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm still not ready to give up on Kenny Pickett.
Jersey, man. Shout out Kenny Pickett.
All right,
I think this is going to be a true 50-50 game. Because you look at the Raiders, they have a much better offense than the Steelers. But then you look at the Steelers, who I think have a much better defense than the Raiders. I think that the clear X factor in TJ Watt, I think it truly is just a 50-50 game. Both teams are lackluster on one side of the ball. So I think the Raiders will outlast the Steelers at the end of it, but I think it will be a fun primetime game.
That does split us. Split's looking a little different. It's going to be me and Zach taking the Raiders, while Tev and Charlie take the Steelers in this one. I think we all agree it's going to be relatively close.
It's going to be a Mad Canada masterclass tonight on Sunday night.
If that defense can win them another game, then the Steelers for sure. But I think they have to take a week off after carrying them to the Cleveland win last week. So, yeah, give me the Raiders. And that pretty much wraps up. I know we have 2 more games for Monday, but I figure that's better to get to more fresh on Monday when we can talk about a little bit more of how the week happened and how we could potentially see the Eagles and the Buccaneers, how that will possibly look in the afternoon of. And as well as that, we're seeing a Super Bowl rematch between the Rams and the Bengals. I think we're going to have some interesting games to talk about later. But ultimately, I feel like we got through what we wanted to get through in this. We talked about our injuries. We talked about the weekly matchups. We gave our picks. Does anyone want to throw in any extra thoughts here at the end? Something we maybe didn't cover?
I got one thing.
For sure.
I don't know if you guys are big UFC guys, but Dana White just announced there's going to be 3 big matches coming up for 295 and 296. You got the main event for 296. You got Colby Covington taking on Leon Edwards. I think this could be an interesting match, and a kickboxer versus a wrestler like Colby Covington. I think Colby Covington is going to come out in this fight, upset the welterweight champion, and have Colby Covington go out there and win.
We talked about it before. I don't think Colby can get it done. I hope not. I might be wrong. It's fighting at the end of the day, but I hope not.
Yeah, anything happens in the UFC. We just saw Sean Strickland beat Israel Adesanya,
which is insane to even talk about. But yeah,
in pretty dominant fashion, also.
Yeah, pretty, bro. I felt that knockout too. Also, before we even go away, mark my words. Saturday, 3:30, Colorado is gonna go into Oregon. They're gonna put up the rollies, shades on, walk out there untouched, undefeated still. I'm telling y'all, that spreads minus 21.5. Yeah, hammer it plus 21.5. They're coming out pushing it because they're gonna win. But listen, all I'm gonna say is I woke up, scrolled down TikTok, saw 3 TikTok in a row of Deion Sanders giving motivational speeches. Said, nah, I need to unsaturate this because they're at plus 660. I went on Twitter. First thing I see on Twitter is Deion Sanders telling everyone to stay blessed and stay focused. Yeah, it's a message from God himself. They're going to win, and they're going to win in a dominant fashion. It's not even going to be pretty, man.
I will be certainly tuning into that game. After seeing
the
show they put on last week, I absolutely have to. I'm hooked. Give me that Deion football. This is going to be like my gateway into college football. I'm going to become one of those college dudes now. This is where it starts. Zach, is there anything that you would want to throw over into our in our hemisphere, our stratospheres?
I got nothing.
Okay, cool. Me neither. So we were missing our glue Monday. Zach was a big hit.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. Goldman really.
Still waiting on the face cam.
I know, dude. Yeah. I'm gonna go to Staples next week and get face cam, or Best Buy. Yeah, Best Buy.
I mean, Goldman really takes my wild takes and brings it back to reality. Because sometimes Matt will be there on my side, and we need one more person to bring us to reality. Tell us to shut up.
We need someone to talk us down.
Yeah.
But not from the Cardinals. Cardinals winning this Sunday.
Yeah,
Mark
Cardinals
my words.
All right, the Bears are going to win this Sunday.
We'll
see.
Next time we record, we'll see.
Next time you guys will see us, we will have these answers and more on our Week 3 NFL review. This is...
more wins than hair.
What happened?
Jobs is going to have more wins than hair, man. That was crazy thing, man.
What a world. G.I. Jane 3 weeks into NFL season. And on that note, I don't think I could come up with a better outro. I'm Matt.
I'm Charlie.
And I'm Zach.
And I'm Tev, man. And this is our podcast. Sub, like, do everything you got to do, man. Tuning off.